Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic Book Investing System podcast. Yes, we are live on Facebook and YouTube, and I have Nothmar with me, who runs probably one of the most important Facebook groups that I'm a part of, a stock group, talking investing. He has another group that's dealing with sports cards, and I think it's going to probably expand a little bit into other cards as well. And we're going to talk about comic book investing today. And obviously, you're a comic book investor. I'm a comic book investor. And so people know my philosophy. I'm very active. I buy and sell a lot on eBay. And I am curious how you got into comic book investing, because everybody has a unique story on how they got in. My audience knows my side, how I got in. So I'm curious how you got in.
Oh, well, first of all, thanks for inviting me here. So I'm glad to...
You're the first guest, so you're the standard.
Oh, I'm the first, or I'm not the first guest?
You're the first guest on this show, so you're the standard. And there's a reason why I wanted to put you on, because you have a financial background. I should say that you obviously, I don't know if I could say where we used to work from, but in work for, but obviously you have a financial background. You're into stocks and a variety of other things, and you're also into comic book investing. So you are the perfect first guest.
Oh, great. Wow. I'm honored now to be the first guest. So you got to set the bar low, I guess, right? But thanks for, I have worked in Wall Street, and some of the biggest Wall Street firms, but I was more on the tech side. So I'm a project manager, program manager. So I manage financial systems for Wall Street, for some of the biggest Wall Streets out there. So, I've been collecting comic books for a long time. It's a passion. It's not just, I do love making money too, from investing, but I love comic books. Since I was a kid, I used to buy them even before, they met any value for me. I love reading the stories, mostly the X-Men.
So to talk about that a little bit, because I'll give the brief summary. I became a collector first. Mm-hmm. I came in as a graphic novel reader, and then I got into comics. And then my story was that I had no money and I wanted to buy new comics. And then you're like, oh man, this book's worth $120 and I paid $20 for it.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow, I can actually buy a lot more comics now. And it's awesome when that happens and you're a broke kid in college and, well, you want to buy more comics because a bunch of people are doing it, and your parents give you $30 and you need 50. Well, there you go to buy comics.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same case, right, with me. I didn't have money growing up. I bought these X-Men and Avengers, which I love to read. And the next thing I know, I'm noticing price differences, or people wanting to buy my comics. I would notice X-Men books when there was, I think it was Jim Lee books at the time. They were incredible. The art was hot. Everybody's after them. And then I would find comics on sale. I would go to a store and find them for 25 cents. And then I would go back to go back to school and sell them to my classmates for $1. I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good hustle. Multiplying my my money 4 times. And so next thing I know, I bought one book. I bought 10 copies of it and then sold them all out. Quadrupled my money. I was like, oh wow, there's something here. So I slowly bought more keys here and there, but but my keys, I wish I got more, but I lived in the Philippines, so our keys are limited. So, I don't remember seeing any X-Men ones or Hulk 181s back in the day, but my most biggest key that I bought was ASM 300. So that was amazing. And I got it for, I think at the time, maybe $30 or something. And now it's worth a few grand, but I left it there. I came back a couple years ago. It got water damage, so it was painful. So I was sad. But the one big story there, though, is I did get a copy of ASM 300, the Philippine variant, which I did not think it would be worth anything at all. I just bought it from a local bookstore. And then next thing I know, I was posting it, sharing all my ASM 300s, but multiple people started contacting me. Hey, how much do you want for that Philippine variant? I was like, oh, something's happening here. At least 10 people asked me about it. So I looked at values and I was like, holy moly.
So let's talk about that, because I had a story that happened. Somebody, I don't know if you saw this person, he put it in a comic group. He apparently found a bunch of books in his attic, or his girlfriend did. And I think Usabi, that the Samurai Rabbit.
Oh man, Usabi one. Don't tell me it's like the first or what's the? I think it's two or something, right? The first Usabi. That's like a
It
crazy book.
was it was like a $2,800 book. It was like probably it looked like a 9.4, 9.6. I mean,
Wow.
we're talking about. He also found like a bunch of other books that were like $1,700, and a bunch of people were lowballing him because this guy wasn't a comic guy. And
Yep.
I said to him, "Hey, call me." And he actually called me,
Exactly.
and I said to him, "I said, hey, I can't afford anything, but the one thing that you have to do is slow down."
Yes. No,
And
definitely that's a flag. So once people start reaching out to you and making offers, you got to do your research. Don't sell it right away because it was the same thing with the ASM 300. I had no idea it was worth that much, but I started researching and then next thing I know people were sharing with me videos saying that it is the most hardest to get and lowest print run hardest to get. I don't know about print run, but hardest to get copy of ASM 300 and it's worth a lot of money, you know. So after that, I was like, oh man, I'm definitely everybody gave me an offer so far have been like low balls, you know. So and I'm getting now offers in the thousands now, you know. So
and that's where I was going with this because, and I was joking with the guy when I said to the guys, I said, okay, what piece of jewelry does your girlfriend want?
yeah,
And when he called me, he laughed because he understood the joke. But this idea that people were offering like $1,500 on a $2,800 book or even more. And I said, hey, you just got to take it nice and slow. And I said, after you clear out everything in this box that's worth money, just take the rest of the box to a comic shop
mm-hmm.
because, you know,
Oh
because once you clear out the big books, at a certain point, you just say, if you found 300 comics and only 50 of them are worth real money and are worth
yeah,
10 grand, and the other 250 are worth like $300, you could just sell that stuff off for about $100. Is what I was saying to him because it's not worth the time anymore.
it's possible. I mean, that is my peeve, though. I've learned I don't like selling to comic shops or even dealers. Even though I sold all my girls last year, that was the most painful thing I've ever done in my life, and it was right before everything exploded in price. So he really got a deal, you know, from my comics, right? I would rarely recommend selling to a shop, you know, because they're definitely going to give you like pennies to a dollar. I've had this big discussion actually multiple times in some of the groups, you know, and a lot of big shops are there. They said they're going to give you almost like 5, 10 cents to a dollar. I was like, you know, and I disagreed. And I said, and we all went back and forth and we said, come to a semi agreement that, hey, for hot books, if you're going to sell to dealer 80, 60, 70 to 80% to the dollar might be okay. If it's not a key, maybe like, you know, 40% or 30 to 50% to a dollar might be okay, you know, but as we know, these dealers will offer you 5 to 10 cents to a dollar. So if you're gonna you got to do your research, you know, you got to
So
understand,
what
you
I
know.
was actually advising this guy is I said, hey, you know what it is? After you cleared out all the big books and you put
Yeah,
them on eBay, and then you have, I guess, I don't want to say junk books, but books that are worth like $1 a piece.
a dollar piece maybe, yeah, that's true too.
But what I was saying is, hey, you already made all your money on it. If you found a
Yeah,
box of 300 comics and you made 10 grand on it, and
yeah,
there's like 100 of them left, just bring it to a comic shop and take whatever they're going to give you because it's not worth your time to piecemeal that stuff out.
it's possible. I mean, it's possible. I would
That's
still
just my view on it because at a certain point, time is money.
yeah, which is true. That is true. I mean, I can see the argument for that, you know, because
But not for like the $10,000 books.
not for the ten
Because
thousand dollar book. There, you should try to get if you're gonna sell it like wholesale. You don't have the time. Try to get like 80% to a dollar, or maybe take less. I mean, I sold my grills for I hate to say it, 60 cents to the dollar. So the guy, and then it tripled. Some of them tripled in price. So I was like, oh man, I made the biggest
and
mistake.
this is something that I kind of want to talk about a little bit because I am fascinated. It's like, how do you know when it's time to let go of a grail? Because I have this
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, yeah,
I obviously sell Pop Funkos, which are a little bit different than comics, but there
yeah.
are Pop Funkos as well, and they're very similar. And I know I have a feeling when it's time to let go of something, but at the same time, it's like, okay, when is it time to say
Yeah,
this book has peaked?
yeah,
Or is it that there's better books out there and
yeah,
that you're just making a lateral move? Or is it that, hey, I need the money? Or
yeah,
are there better options out there?
yeah,
Because comics are an asset class to me.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I don't. For me, I'm always a long term holder, right? So I would not. I only. That's the first time I've sold. Actually, I did sell a lot of books like years ago, which made me get back into comics. But like I only sold it because I'm buying a house, and also the stock market was red hot. So as you guys know, but somehow it went the opposite direction when I did that. Right, the stocks went down and the comics went up. So I made a big miss here. But I would say if you're going to sell comics, try to sell them piecemeal. If you have multiple copies, ideally sell them piecemeal. If you only have one copy of a really hot book that it's hard to get, it's in demand, you have to monitor the market, see if it's still trending up. It's similar with stocks, right? If you see you have to check the stock chart. If you see suddenly the chart like went straight up multiple times, it's not going to continue forever. It's going to drop or level off. So do you want to get greedy and wait for it higher? Or there are people in our group, in our stocks group, notice, right? They made a lot of money. They didn't sell and it tanked. Even me, a lot of my stock, I lost six figures actually. But I gained already. I gained like, more than that. I'm still up from last year, but I lost a good chunk because of the market crashing this year.
I'll be honest. Last February 2020 was the dark days for me. Yeah. It was 57 days of hell.
Yes.
I didn't lose six figures. I'm younger. I have enough money that it hurt. Yeah. I lost 40%. But guess what? I sold nothing and I bought more and I made my money back.
Yes.
I bought Texas Roadhouse at about $34.
Yeah.
Texas Roadhouse is at about 100 in that range right now. So I made a very good decision. Yeah. And I bought a bunch of good stocks like that. And I wrote out things like American Eagle. And I know that you commented on when I put American Eagle into that group.
Yeah, I was tracking American Eagle for a while. I mean, the thing is, like, for me, because I'm like tied, my hands are tied. I have to get permission to get buy and sell stocks. So I can't just buy and sell. So all of my stocks are invested longer term. So that's why I rarely sell. But that means I need to be able to ride out these downturns and expect them, right? So, I think long term right now, I'm actually trying to move my comics now and sell them, and then I'm gonna buy stocks now again because stocks are cheaper now, right? So that's kind of my goal to rotate into stocks again because comics are the high and then stocks are the low. You gotta rotate, I think.
Well, I don't want to dive too much into stocks because I love stocks. I love index funds.
Yes. Yep.
I'm not as familiar with ETFs.
Yes.
I understand. I love index funds. I love mutual funds. I love stocks. I also like balancing my portfolio. I'm a little less familiar with crypto. I have a little crypto. But obviously I do love comic books.
Yes.
And so
but I have to point out, like, going back to the topic, right? Like, for example, like my Hulk 181s, right? I bought like 10 of them right before the boom, and now they're like really skyrocketed. But I'm a little worried that it might go down a little bit. But I'm also possible it might still double because when they finally introduce the X-Men, it might still go up. But then everybody might sell their books again, and then prices might go up and down. So I mean, I'm selling them like piecemeal. That's the strategy. Don't sell them all. Sell them one at a time, incrementally. Slow down if you feel like there's still more upside. Don't sell them. Only sell them if you need to. Like for me, I needed to buy a house or I want to go in stock, so that's why I did a mass sale. But I will try not to do that anymore because that was a painful experience. Like selling them and then suddenly they went up again, right? So I would definitely try to figure out, like, if it's selling at all-time highs, sell a few if you have multiples. But if you don't, then you can afford to hold on to it, and you don't need the money. Hold on to that book because you might not be able to get another Hulk 181 at 8.5 8.0 again because it's so expensive now. So.
See, I'm having that issue because I have two Ultimate Fallout 4s, first print, regular covers, and I'm having a hard time.
Which comic?
Ultimate Fallout 4.
Ultimate Fallouts, yes. Oh man.
Oh, and I'll tell the story about this one. This is a crazy story. So I used to live in New York. I live in Connecticut now, and on Free Comic Book Day at Midtown Comics, they were giving them away for free.
Yeah.
Talk about a crazy entity in like 2013. Book was a disaster. I mean, that book, there's a lot of copies printed.
People are making fun that he's not going to get anywhere. Yeah, I know that. I have my own story there. You should have seen. Did you see my copies of the Jujeric variant? I had 10 of them, and I sold them all before it exploded. Oh, man, it was the most painful thing. Except for one, I sold everything under $2,000, and a couple of them were signed by Stan Lee too, and I sold them for under $2,000. I was like, oh man.
So one of the things that was supposed to happen with my Ultimate Fallout 4s, and the reason why I'm holding on to both of them, and I still want to make it happen, I wanted Bendis and Bagley to sign it.
Sure.
Which I think makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Yep.
And they were supposed to be at AwesomeCon because I used to live in DC, but then COVID hit.
Yeah. No, if you get signatures,
I was so
signatures. Anytime you get signatures, they're great. I usually hunt down. First preference is getting signed by the artist signatures. Of course, Stan Lee is my biggest one. Even though there's some books that he might not be involved in, but there is demand. There is people who collect them. So I can't.
I have a project, and it's political. I have the Obama Spider-Man cover.
Yeah.
And Mark, I can't think of his name. Mark Wade signed the book.
Yep.
Stan Lee signed the book, and I'm working on my goal to get Obama on it.
If you get Obama, forget it. Oh.
And I'm going to say this right now: that book's not for sale in my collection. Yeah. That book is put on the back of your wall.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's something that you never saw. That's a PC book. But see, the thing is, for me, I've learned it is painful, but everything has a price, because the thing is with me, I love the hunt, right? So when I sell something and I want to hunt for a replacement, so it's kind of fun for me to look for something better or similar.
So there are personal books, and we all have personal books.
Yes.
I have a connecting cover signed by Stan Lee and J. Scott Campbell of Spider-Man 700 and Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's the Midtown, the book 9.8 signed by both of them. Like, that's a personal book.
Sure.
I have one that's a personal book. But then again, I have a Virgin and Gwen Stacy book that I'm planning to sell eventually, where I like it, it's cool, I enjoy it, but everybody has books that are off limit. And no matter what you say, you could put a price, and if somebody's going to give you 10 grand for it, and it's way overpriced, and it's like a 9,400% increase, you'll sell it because the money's.
Oh yeah. See, that's the thing for me. When I tell people, if you want to succeed in being a good investor, you got to differentiate the collector part and the investment part. So because like I notice in the comic book groups, especially like some of the investment groups, people start saying, hey, it's a price, or hey, you can't sell money here, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to detach those two. Your personal, you can't put price on it. But if you want to make an investment and make a profit, then you look at things differently. Like for me, I have a business. I incorporated my selling books. So I try to really differentiate that I'm here to make a profit on some of the books that I want. And if I'm going to sell my ASM 300 Philippine variant, which like is very attached to me, I went through like wars with that, it has to be like, I will sell it, but it will be not cheap, not for like, the offers I was given before, but, definitely a good amount.
For me, I just sold a Sun Kumanaki May the 4th Star Wars variant by, it's not a variant because all the books are done variant style with Zenoscope, but I bought 2 of them. And so the second one, I'm not selling, and it's not going to be up for another year or 2.
Yeah. So
the first one is up immediately. And then the second one might not come up in my collection for another 3 years because I want more appreciation on it.
Sure.
So there's a difference between saying something like, that's not a personal book, I just want to hold on to it in my collection for more appreciation.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, if you want to grow and scale, you're going to start like later on when your capital increases, you're going to be able to buy a lot more copies, right? So that way, like, for example, like the first appearance of, even the Jujervik variants, right? I had at one point 10 copies, right? So if I sold one, it wouldn't have hurt. But when like the ASM 300 Philippine, I only have 1 copy. So here it's a little bit harder for me to sell because it's only 1.
So one of the problems with Zenoscope is that they limit 1 per customer. So I broke their rule on it for this, which automatically increases the price, which I love. Now, I found a way around it. Also, that company allows me to break rules.
Yeah.
I got to interview one of the owners. I interview a lot of their artists. I give them a lot of free media press.
Yep.
And I don't do it because they want me to. I do it because it helps my other business.
Yeah.
My podcast.
Yep.
And which is a separate entity completely beyond this show. So obviously, and they appreciate it, and I get away with murder, which shows that if you have connections, things help. For me, what it is that I found a way around their rules, and they know I'm breaking their rules, and they're going to allow me to do it anyway. But one of the things that it's built in to that, but I agree with things like, New Republic or High Republic,
Well,
those
you're
variants.
but that's what I'm trying to say. You're saying that now, but like I don't know, 20 years from now, when suddenly those characters are the next Ahsoka Tano's, and then you've sold everything, you only have one copy left. You're gonna change your tune, right? You're gonna say, "Oh man, this was really my PC book, but people are offering me $5,000 for it. I gotta let it go," So
I, I already know every single one of my High Republic books are not personal books. I already know that.
no, for now. But I'm saying you're saying that now. That's what people said. Ahsoka Tano were making fun of. Even Miles Morales, people were making fun of 10 years ago, and you would have said, "Oh, I don't really care about them." But now you have one copy left. I mean, for me, I had at least probably 20 copies of that. Now I have one last copy left, but it's signed by Stanley and thing, and it's harder for me to sell. But I mean, I'd probably sell it if somebody gives me the right price. But like, things change, right? As it gets more scarce and rare and the character becomes popular. So that's why you can't really say that now. Say 20 years from now, So you'll probably sing a different tune.
Believe me, I made mistakes in the Pop Funko world
Yeah.
where I sold two Azulas from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and those pops are like 200, 250.
Oh, really? Oh man, I love the avatars. I should have got those then.
And I'm kicking myself for it.
Yeah.
But now I've learned the lesson, and I sold both of them, and I should have held on to one of them. I should have sold one of them, knowing that I would have sold the second one, but at a much higher price. And that's what I'm doing with this like Senkumanaki book. Is I'm saying, hey, I'm selling this one at $85, and it was a $25 book, which is a great rate of return.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a phenomenal rate of return.
That's a phenomenal, but
in a short term,
exactly. But
I mean, I had the book for 4 days.
But see, that's why I love long-term investing. You might have only seen the scratch the surface there, right? Because like maybe 10 years from now, that's gonna become mega rare, and that's gonna be selling for like $3,000, and you're like, oh man, I made my $50.
That's why I have a second copy.
It's the same thing with stocks, right? Because I have people, they buy and sell all the time. I'm a long-term holder. They sell all the time. But like, for example, I told them I learned my lesson. I sold Amazon when it was $350. Everybody was bad mouthing it like 10 years ago, but now it's $3,000, right? So I probably would have been a millionaire just from Amazon stock, right? So sometimes I would recommend short term is okay, but if you have a lot of copies, multiples, yeah, definitely sell a few. But if you only have a few, you think about it a little bit more, because 10 years down the road.
I agree. That's why I'm saying, hey, I bought 2 copies, and I sell one,
keep one long term,
and then keep one long term. And also, I'm like, hey, and also I'm fortunate enough that my Instagram is full of this, and I take pictures of all this stuff, and I put it up on my Instagram, so I can always look at the picture. And then has metal cards that are cheaper. So a metal card is $12.50, and a metal card isn't worth much, but it's the same cover on a metal card.
Yeah.
So I could still pick up the metal card for $12.50 and have the image and have like a copy of the image, but I don't have the book per se. And those metal cards are super limited too. And so
if it's $12.50, I would recommend getting like 20 copies of that.
I mean, the metal cards are different though, so that's the difference. But I love it nonetheless because it's kind of cool, and I also know Star Wars books. Anything referencing Star Wars always does well.
Yes, I agree. No, Star Wars, same thing. I had a lot of, even the first Star Wars 42. I had like probably, I don't know, like 15 copies or 10 to 15 copies of it, and I sold them all at under $500 before it got hot, and so frustrating. So see, I've learned a few times already. So now I was like,
and this is why I want to talk, because it is important, because I've learned a lot of lessons. I completely understand things, and that I've been burned. I'm sure you've been burned.
Yes.
And obviously things happen, and then we learn, and then we adapt.
Yes.
And I think this is important because I'm coming at it, and I'm not a comic book expert per se. I buy and sell things. I'm happy to make my money, and then my entire strategy. And I've spoken about this before, but what I do is that I take my profit and then
reinvest it.
I reinvest it right into the stock market, and then I pay the book off essentially, and I take my profits out. And maybe I'm making $15, $20, $30 on a book. But when you're moving 100 books a month, it becomes a lot of money. And then you move it into something like an Apple or another good stock. And you hope that stock does better in the long term. And that's why it's not so painful, because it's not like I'm going to Hawaii, guys. It's not like I'm doing that. So
but if you take it like I tell people, if you really focus on the investing side versus the PC side, there is a lot of potential with comics, right? Like I can't even tell you the amount of sales I get per month. It's crazy. It's almost like 20 grand a month. so
I'm not at that level yet. I'm not at
the size
that
of the
level
books,
yet.
you just keep increasing it. Same with stocks, right? You keep increasing your investment, reinvest it, and you get compounding interest. Same with comics, right? Keep reinvesting it, buy more, reinvest. It keeps going higher and higher until you get like a good amount, and it's your stream of income at some point, right?
My goal is that I will always have a day job. I understand I will always have a day job, because my theory is that I would like to have nice things in my life, and I enjoy having nice things, but I want to leave, when I have a family, I want to leave my kids millions upon millions of dollars in investments. And I want to enjoy my life, but I want to have a legacy, and I want to create legacy wealth.
Yeah. No, but I think that's what we talked about in one of the posts, right? Like the goal is to get your businesses to a point that you don't have to do your regular job anymore, because like it doesn't make sense if you're, for example, if you're stocks and you're getting like 30-40 grand a month, and at work you're only getting 5 grand a month. It doesn't make sense. Why not put more effort into your stocks or your comics, which you're making 20 grand a month?
I'll explain my theory. I want to work for the government. My friend works for the government. His benefits are phenomenal. So he can contribute 3%, and then he gets a 4% match on his salary. So he contributes $1,800 to government matches and $2,100 into his basically retirement. So he's making a 4% rate of return on a 3% rate of return, essentially. So he can, and then he gets a raise, like a 1.5 to 2% raise every single year. And so after 40 years, the government just gave him $400,000 of money for free. So that's what I want.
Yeah. No, I agree with it. I've had this discussion too, but see, that's the thing though. You have to think bigger. So when you're an investor, you think your comics or stocks, it can go much higher than even that 400K that they would have gotten, right? Because like imagine,
my stocks are my employees.
Yeah,
they work for me.
No, exactly. No, but think about it, right? Like even like the highest that I've gotten, for example, compounding interest on a stock on a month is 30K. Imagine if you get 30K consistently, or you make it higher, that's 300K per year. And if 10 years, that's $3 million. That's that 400K that the employer gave you probably is dwarfed by the 3 million you would have made. But I mean, first of all, you're not going to make 30K. Stock, we know, goes up and down, right? So, but I'm just saying, if you get in comics too, if you're selling 10, 20K in comics per year, you're making 100 to 200K per year. In 10 years, you would have made over $1 million. It will still dwarf that 400K that your employer would have made. And you had the financial freedom, and you're doing something more fun, right? So that's why you got to think a little bit bigger.
my philosophy, and this is how I view it, is that I like to create multiple income streams.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like to create passive income streams. So I'm a dividend investor, and that is passive income to me. And I'm a drip investor, and I employ a bunch of strategies into what I did. And I started out with a lot less money than I have right now.
Sure.
I started out with about like 10 grand, and I now have a much larger portfolio. It's 10x itself.
Yeah.
7 years. So I worked my ass off to get there.
Sure.
And anybody can do it. This is not, proprietary. No. You could start out with no money and become very, very wealthy in America. I do want to break that stigma off the cuff right there. So you can start with $1,000 and become worth millions and millions of dollars very, very quickly in America. But also what I like to do is that I'm trying to just create passive income streams for myself. And that's how I view it, because this is just my philosophy.
Yeah. No, but I'm trying to say is you can do the same diversification for comics and stocks, right? Same thing. Because like comics, you can do the short-term flips that you do. You can do the longer term sales, and invest in big grails. You can do that. You can have multiple ways there. It's like growing a business now. You have a business that you're trying to do multiple streams. And same with stocks, right? You can have the growth stocks where you can probably gain like a quick 100% in like a few months versus the long-term ones, the Apple, that you're guaranteed to gain 20% per year. You know, you got to have that both.
Apple's the greatest thing. It's buy and never sell.
Never sell. So, but the thing is, there are times where it's lagged. See, people now are complaining that like the past year, maybe Apple has slowed down. But I've told people that, hey, I've had Apple for like 3 splits now. After a split, it does get stagnate for like a few months.
My God. When they split, I screamed and cheered
Exactly.
for like an
I
hour.
got excited, but I didn't get too excited because like I've had the 3 splits. After that, I knew it doesn't move for a while.
So but let me ask a question.
Yeah.
I bought Apple at about 150 a share.
Okay.
Then it went up
after the before the split, right?
Oh, way before the split.
Before the split, yeah.
Now Apple after the split is at like what, 130, 120, 130?
130, yeah.
So it went all the way up to about like 450, 460, right?
450, 460.
That's a huge gain. That split happens, I was like, this is gold. Because we're going right back to 300.
But it was more than that. The split before, if I'm correct, I had it for 3 splits. The split before is split at 700. so
it's so good.
I got it for like something like 300, and it was 700. It split, and then it went up again. Then it split again. I was like, oh man, this is amazing.
The best split I had was a company called NSP.
Mm-hmm.
NSP split. They were at 120, and their dividend was 160. You split and your dividend gets split. So now they were at their dividend was at 120. So it was $1.20 at 120, which isn't a great dividend. They split at 60 cents and 60 cents. Then they go back up, and 3 months later, they raise their dividend to 80 cents a share.
Nice.
Then 3 months after that, they raised their dividend to $1 a share. Then after that, in another 4 months, they raised it to 120. So now we're back at the original dividend, but you have double the shares.
Amazing.
And then they raised it to 140 and then 160 is where their dividend is.
Wow, that's why it's amazing. That's why you wanna stocks. You gotta keep buying the good stocks, keep diversifying. You know, you have more of these opportunities as it grows.
What was nice about that dividend split is they gave a special dividend of $2.60 per share when it split as a bonus to everybody.
Wow.
So per share, you got $2.60, basically because they said, well, you know what, we're splitting and we're going to give everybody, and we approved the $2.60 position. So super, super cool. That's cool. I can't wait for Apple because Apple's the king. It's Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon are like the big four?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're FANG stocks. That's what they call them, right? So they're definitely being consistent. I mean, I do have some concerns only because they are really big now that it might slow down. So I have, it's my second largest position, but like I'm trying to evaluate looking at other stocks that might be growing, but not at that size, you know, because like I think at some point it's gonna be hard for them to grow to a certain percentage of their size, you know. So
I mean, Apple is phenomenal. It's that and L Brands are my 2 biggest returners right now. L Brands has almost done 300%.
Nice.
And I was in the dog days, and that Victoria's Secret spin-off is going to be good for L Brands.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean that's the goal here. And then definitely, I mean, I'm trying to look into some retail stocks, you know, just to diversify more, because I think for the next probably 3 years or so, the retail is going to recover. So I think that's where
I'm taking a big bet on Chico's, and that's going to be a fun one.
Okay.
And then I'm already up like 70% in
Nice.
the last month on that stock. Yeah. So I bought it when it was beat up. And people make fun of me, but it's an interesting company and they know what they're doing. But and I agree though about diversification, where, you know, for those who don't know, and obviously I think people who are into comic books, especially on the investment side, understand stocks to some degree. And there's a lot of diversification you do in stocks between ETFs and a variety of other things. But I am curious how you feel about graded books versus in raw books. posting signed books,
Yep.
books.
Oh man, yeah. This is fun. So for comics, there's so many ways to diversify too. You just touched off on a couple different examples, right? Get graded books, get signed books, get raw books. Get like collections. So you have
Get graphic novels. That's a
graphic
whole
novels
new
too. Yeah.
field. When a graphic novel goes out of print, it's crazy. Some of
Okay.
these graphic novels are worth good money.
Oh,
And
okay.
and it's crazy. And I'm obviously I like indie comics also, and I'm big on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But I buy Kickstarter because I want to read comics. I enjoy reading it. But there are books that will not be printed again by people that I know, and those books are going for like $80 on eBay.
Oh,
And
nice,
Kickstarter was like
yeah.
$25, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like,
Oh yeah, no, actually, I have to look because like I did buy. Anytime I buy graphic novels, it's only for reading because like I've tried selling them before, did not get far with like profit, and I felt like it wasn't worth my time. I was getting comics that can sell for a bigger percentage. So
I mean, I like getting graphic novels signed for my personal collection because I like having books around. And I like reading like Green Lantern, Blackest Night. I read in graphic novel.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was sidelined with the surgery, and it helped me. Fear Itself and Blackest Night got me through a dark time in my life, and I wanted to read it because I'm a fan of comics.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong. I want to clarify this: that if you just want to get your monthly comics, you have no desire to sell
graphic novels.
Stories, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh yeah, graphic novels. I usually go to the cons because I get the sale for. I usually buy a ton of graphic novels for like $5, and I was like, oh man, lots of good reading to catch
and you
up.
don't care if it's speed up, and you're just happy, like, oh man, this is great.
To have graphic novel,
and you're catching up on stories, and you're like, oh man, this is awesome, right? Like I love reading comics. Like,
it's easier to read. They're all in one shot. I don't have to search for all because some of my comics they're like spread all over the place. I can't read the story like straight like in the graphic novel.
Also, if you bought a comic for $100, you don't want to open it, right? Like,
sometimes, yes.
Like I have J. Scott Campbell books that still have the seal on them in the back. I don't want to open the book up and ruin it.
Yeah. No, that's true. Oh man, Joy Scott, I kind of gave up. I did invest in a lot of J. Scott Campbell's. I think I gave up on them. I pretty much like sold most of my Campbell's.
I think so. We're gonna get controversial, and then we can get back to diversification. How do you feel about 601 Spider-Man?
Oh, I don't have anything to add there. I'm not as up to date with 601. Sorry.
So the entire fixing and that entire situation that went down, it's a train wreck.
Okay. No, I'm not up to date with Spider-Man. I can't speak, but I mean, I do invest in a lot of Spider-Verse. I mean, not as much. I'm probably focused on a few, but I did sell off a lot already. But I think they're a good investment. I love the movie, but the comic books I haven't been up to date.
I just picked up some Venom 200 books, and I picked up.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
No worries.
Sorry, I have to. The sound. They turned on the music there. I have to close the door.
I just picked up the Art Gem book by Comic.
Yeah.
Because I think that book is awesome looking, and I think
which one?
Art Gem just did a variant for Comic Mint, and I like Art Gem's art.
Yeah, me too. But I think that's the thing with Art Gem. I think their investment wise, I don't see as much appreciation. They're definitely good PC books. I love the art. I love it, but
I think I'll do all right in the long run with it. I think
in the long run.
I think in the long run, it's kind of like an early Derek Chu.
Yeah.
An early Derek Chu, an early Sun Kumanaki, an early Mike DeBaffo. Like, I try to find artists who are early.
Sure.
And obviously my other show, Pop Anime Comics Lounge and Conversations in Pop Culture, I look for artists who are new purposely. And so my show is partially investment research, which is nice. And I get to talk to cool people, and I get to give people interviews. I was a lot of people's first interviews, like Keith Garvey, and who goes by Garv. I was his first interview ever.
Oh, wow, nice.
And then I got to do eBass too for the first time in 5 years. I was his
first,
which is awesome. If you ever get to speak to certain people, it's really cool. But even talking about diversification, because we got sidetracked. But
yeah.
Like, how do you feel about graded books versus not graded books? Because I'm in the space of both of them.
Oh, so this is a big one, right? So, I mean, I love graded books because I I would buy them, and you can sell them right away because they're already graded, and there's no question with, like, I bought books that are the seller would give a questionable grade, and I was like,
It's
oh man,
objective versus subjective.
subjective versus objective. Yes, sir. There's no more question in what the grade is, and I can resell it right away. Uh, but raw, you can find them and find good deals, right? But it depends on the situation. But because now a lot of people are selling raws at like crazy high prices too, so it's hard. If I wouldn't want to pay raw, and it's almost the same price as a graded book. So what's the point, right? I'd rather buy the graded book because I have the security to get the grade that I want versus a raw.
Unless I go back to the book I just sold, where there are no graded books on this one yet.
Yeah.
And so the Sunkumanaki book that I just sold for $85, there's no graded books.
Yeah.
Literally, it's it came out on May 4th. Today is May 16th. I sold it last night while I was eating a steak, which is really a cool how to sell a book.
But you sold it raw?
Yeah, I just sold it raw.
See, but that's the thing. I rarely, if you notice, I rarely sell raws because usually you make a lot more. The value goes up. You can charge a lot more if it's graded.
There's no graded copy.
Oh man, especially if there's no graded copies, you can probably command a premium. That's why.
That's why I commanded the $85 because this book I would normally pick. It's part of Zenoscope's holiday collection.
Yeah.
I would usually pick $60. There was no other book on
eBay.
book.
I mean, I would have recommended to have it.
And I have another one. No, that's why I sold it. So for what I sold it for immediately, because I understood, and I'm making such money on it, and then I have another one that I'm going to go get graded and demand that premium for.
No, but if you graded the first one and sold it put it on the market for $800, you never know. That's a big difference from $80, though, right?
See, I think it would have sat at about maybe like 125. I don't think the grade would have added to it.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I think it depends. Because you just said that there's a lot of demand and there's limited. See, the important there is the demand, right? So even print, I would say, even though I've had this debate so many times that people would knock on the high print runs for Deadpool and ASM 300. I said, dude, demand is still higher than the high supply. As long as there's a high demand and it's consistent, you should still invest them versus just buying something that's low print run.
There is a play I'm making next year with my Spider-Man 700 and Superior Spider-Man connecting covers because I did buy a few of those copies and I got them graded.
Yeah.
And so both are 9.8s. They have serial numbers that are right next to each other, which is nice.
Oh, even nicer, yeah.
My signed Stan Lee copy is not for sale. I have no desire to sell it. That's a personal. But the regular blue label CGC stuff with the matching serial numbers, absolutely. It's also nice that the 700 serial number is first.
This is which one's this? Which book is this?
This is a Midtown Comics connecting cover. Okay. Spider-Man 700 and Superior Spider-Man, where that thing where Spider-Man, Mary Jane's on Spider-Man's back, and Doc Ock is attacking Spider-Man.
Okay.
And it was the end of like the 700 run on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so really low print run book. Midtown was experimenting, early J. Scott Campbell, and I'm looking at like 800 to 1,000 on it, easy, if not more. Nice. And it's worth it. And it will actually pay for my signed copy of Stan Lee. And those two don't have matching serial numbers, unfortunately, because I had to buy them from two different people. But they're still nice to have, even two covers that match up and are 9.8s. So obviously I'm going to sell my 9.8s. Just a regular cover, and I'm looking at 800 to 1,000 because I know Spider-Man 60. It's going to be a hot book.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a good way of doing it. I mean, if you find something that's a combination of rare and high demand, that's the key, right? So do you see? Because I bought like a bunch of like hot books at the time, like and supposedly low print runs. It was hot for like a year, then afterwards it tanked, right? So I've learned my lesson. That's why I rarely buy now. Unless there's like a full, like a real true first appearance, and I'll look to hold it longer term. But otherwise, those are short flips that it's dangerous, right? Especially since I don't sell quickly. I move a little slow. I don't want to lose the boat, and then I bought it at a high, and then it drops. Right, so I'm kind of, it's same with stocks, right? So you gotta.
No. I mean, I'm looking at. I knew that I was going to sell a bunch of stuff in Spider-Man's 60 years, his 60-year anniversary. So I bought stuff in like the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the 5th anniversary. So I don't know what we call long term per se. I don't know if 5 years is a long term player.
5 to 10 years or more, right? So, because like even I did have that Spider-Man anniversary where they had that tower, and they had like I had like 17 signatures, right? I hope a whole bunch of them for like I think my $300. I sold one for 1,000, but then I sold a couple. They started going down. Nobody would buy them anymore. Then I sold some, near close to how much I sold them. So I was like, oh man.
I have a Spider-Man 50-year story.
Yeah.
So I needed money to start my website and start this podcast and start these projects. And I was in college. I had no money. So I actually sold Spider-Man 700 Raw signed by Dan Slott, and the backup artist signed it. And then I sold my Marcos Martin red cover and signed by Dan Slott. I sold for good money. And then when I finally had money, I bought that red cover back with Spider-Man holding Stacy. And I love that book, and I'm not going to sell it. But when my business started making me a little bit of capital, and my website made me a little bit of capital, I bought the book back. I might have paid more for it than I should have, but I was happy to do it.
Yeah. Once your capital grows, your business grows, you'll find that, hey, it's easier to sell a little bit because you can rebuy them later on, so.
I made an investment and I needed the money, and I was happy to sell it. It was painful, and then I bought it, and it's like one of my mom's favorite covers too, which is awesome. So obviously I have personal books, but then I have books that I'm like, I just know that this book's going to increase in value. And also, like, I bought CGC books for like $30, and like they're selling for like $200 now.
Nice. Yeah. No, I see. Like even the Eternals, right? Eternals, I bought them. I stacked on them when they were not popular because I love the team. I've been reading that book for years, and I think maybe 8 years ago or 10 years ago, oh man, CGC books were selling for like $30-$40 for those because they were just not popular. So I bought like 10 of them at the time, and then they went up, right? So
I'm a very contrary investor. By definition, I bought into L brands when everybody was terrified. I bought into comic books when everybody's terrified. And I'm like, whether Marvel does,
buy when people are. That's what Buffett was saying, right? Buy when people are scared or something to that effect.
When others are greedy, you exit. And when others are fearful, you enter.
Yes. But you got ideally. See, it's easier when you're following the brands and you're a fan, right? Like, so for comics, like I know my X-Men, right? So I know, when to buy and then when I can sell them and buy back because I'm really familiar. The other stocks, like L brands, I'm not as familiar. I do follow some of the companies. But there's some that I am more familiar. That's why I was trying.
With comics, with Zenoscope, I'm very familiar with their product.
Familiar with it.
And that's what I know, where this Sun Kumanaki book, which is a Star Wars book, I just know that Star Wars is really hot in May. And that's why I sold this book immediately. And I was going to list it for $65. And then I'm like, I'm going to add $20 onto it because somebody can always make me an offer. I could always go lower. I can't go higher. And I was happy with the deal. And I'm ecstatic about the deal because I just paid for my entire order from them for this month. Nice. And in my investments from them, and I'm stoked. I'm like, this is wonderful that I just did this, and great. And then they're having a virtual con later this month. I'm going to pick up more product from them. So obviously I'm covering my downside.
Yep, that's the way to go.
A little bit of money on it.
And it's fun. And then you're buying and selling stuff that you collect, right? You love it. And you know the stories, the books, it's definitely makes it easier.
I know their product really well, and I also know their customer base really well. Okay. And that helps too, where I know who I'm targeting to. I am not as familiar anymore with DC and Marvel. I am familiar with artists from DC and Marvel. Like I know who Derek Chu is. I know Art Gem. I know Campbell. I know Greg Horn. I know what's going on with Spider-Man because I've been saying that, the next 18 months are the year of Star Wars and Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's the same with me because like Spider-Man, I'm not as big a fan. I mean, I track definitely which ones like Miles Morales when he came up, but like I'm more I think 80s 90s X-Men collector because that's what I read a lot, so I know most of those books like the back of my hand because I read them so many times, you know. So that's why I buy and sell a lot more of those, and some of the more familiar books. So it's easier when you're buying and selling something you love and you actually collect, and you follow the industry like you do with with that book, right? Like, so for me, yeah, I mean, I love Marvel comics. I do buy some DC, but very minimal because I'm more of a Marvel X-Men fan, right? So I'll definitely invest more in that space, right?
I'm also an artist guy,
Mhm.
so I follow artists. And one of
Yes,
the reasons why I like Zenoscope is that they have produced a lot of artists who have then gone to DC and
sure.
Marvel. And so all of a sudden, those people say, "Oh my God, I love David Nakayama, who
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
career in
Nakayama.
it
I,
started in Zenoscope, and now he's doing a lot of Marvel covers." And I'm like, "Great, you love David Nakayama. You never heard of Zenoscope. This is his first cover." And
yeah, yeah.
people say, "I want that." And now I want it because I'm a fan of his, and they're going to pay a premium, and they never heard of Zenoscope before.
I mean, I do buy a couple books where it's artist based, where I'll follow, hey, first Frank Miller or first, maybe some of the other artists, McFarlane's. But I've noticed, yeah, the investment wise, I've kind of went back to just focusing on the first appearances types versus just. I mean, here and there, I will buy first artists appearances, but there is a market for it. You are right. There is a market, but I feel
So,
like
so,
I get
so I'll give an example. Have you ever heard of Ian McDonald?
no.
Right. So nobody heard of Sun Kumanaki,
Yeah,
but now everybody's hearing of Sun Kumanaki. She's got
sure,
a Batman cover coming out for DC.
sure.
It's her first DC cover. It looks awesome.
Okay.
And then there's like a version of it. But nobody heard of Sun Kumanaki 18 months ago. And most people think Sun Kumanaki. Let me ask, Sun Kumanaki, guy or girl?
It's got to be a girl.
Right. But most people, and this is what's funny about Sun, and she's great. I might have already tipped you off on that one.
Sure.
But what winds up happening with Sun is that she's sitting at a convention with her husband, and people think her husband is
It's the
Sun.
artist.
And I thought it
That's
was funny
funny.
during the interview, but I was like, oh snap, like that gives an idea of what people think.
Yeah, yeah.
So now when that thing comes off, and then let's say that she gets taken away from Zenoscope and she now becomes DC exclusive, people are going to flock to her early stuff. And
Sure, sure. No, I can see that. I mean,
that's
I guess Peach Momoko, same thing, right? Like it's red. The artist is red hot, and I mean, J. Scott Campbell was really red hot at when before he started his own company and flooded the market. His books were like really rare, and they would command like a big premium.
let's get controversial because my view on that is J. Scott Campbell is now not as exclusive. He has like 10 variants coming out a month. Peach
Yeah.
Momoko is very similar too. I like companies where you got one or two variants coming out from an artist.
Exactly. That's what it is. And it's kind of funny because like people were knocking him too. I was in the see one of the investment groups and they were all knocking that his art, all these female characters look the same, etc. And John Scott Campbell was actually in that group and he was like defending himself. So I was like, oh man, all you guys who are bashing him, he's got to feel awkward now. He's like replying to you guys now. And he was saying that people were saying that he now he's putting up too much work and he was defending himself saying, oh, my old editors were telling me I wouldn't finish deadlines, I'm not putting up enough work, etc. But I think, come on, as an investor, like it started when he started, like for example that Jean Grey, right? He pumped out like 10 different covers. I was like, and they all look almost the same. They change it a little bit, just change the color, there's no background. I was like, oh man, this is, I hate to say it, like it felt like he was just pumping out like
It
just to
felt like
make
he
money.
was capitalizing
He's
and
kept. I didn't
milking
want to
as
say it. I
much.
was trying to be nice. You know, he's.
I'll be the mean one. I'll let
Yeah,
you
he'll be the
have
mean one.
the. I'll let you be the nice guy, and I'll be
Yeah,
the
yeah.
asshole for that.
I felt there was not enough. There was no backgrounds, and every face looks almost the same. The bodies were the same. They look repetitive. You just look like it just changed it slightly. I was like, "There's no difference. Why would I buy 10 copy? I would buy 10 if they all look amazing and different. But if they all look the same, you just change the color. Why would I buy 10 copies of that variant?
It almost seemed like he was lazy and that he was trying to capitalize on knowing that people are going to buy a bunch in spec. I mean, I went to a con. Obviously, you've been in CGC. I went somewhere and J. Scott Campbell was doing a private signing. I participated in it.
There's a big line.
I have a Rocket Raccoon book that he did, and a guy who created Rocket Raccoon, Keith Giffen, I want to say, signed the book, and Campbell signed the book. It's a cool book.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice when you have somebody beyond Campbell signing a book that he did. So what wound up happening, I should have had Scotty Young sign too, but Scotty Young wasn't there. Because Scotty Young did the art on it. It might have written Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
But what wound up happening for me is that I'm getting it, happy to do the private signing, paying my money, stoked for it because I think it's a good investment. I'll make my money on it. But some guy has 20 books of J. Scott Campbell's getting signed, and it's $30 for the signature, and it's like $30 for CGC, and I'm like, you just dropped like $1,200. I think that's my math, right? I'm not good at math. I'm a political science major.
I can't even tell you. I had a lot of the J. Scott Campbell.
But you know where I'm going with this, where I'm like, I don't think this guy's going to make his money back or as much money as he thinks, because I think a stack of 20 and you're paying $60 a book, and that's a lot of cash.
Well, no, but he was hoping that if you looked at the early Campbells, they're crazy, right? Like, like that lizard one, I think that was like over $1,000.
I'll give you a crazy early Campbell that I haven't seen. Zenoscope Campbell. I go back to Zenoscope, and I'm biased. His work in Zenoscope is so exclusive that everybody who has one of those in Zenoscope, they don't come up on the market.
Yeah. Versus, I mean, I don't want to knock an artist if they make money. Hey, it's great for them, right? Because like most artists were normally underpaid, but I think he took it to the extreme and flooded the market, right? I think if you did it, I don't know, incrementally and not like have 10 copies,
Let's say that he pulled it back and he did 6.
Yeah, even 6 is a lot, So
I'm trying to get. This is how I view it. Let's say he did 2 a month, and then for San Diego he did 6 covers. That's not that bad, all things considering. Yeah. And he did 6 for New York Comic Con. So if he released, let's say he released, 3 covers a month, which is a lot in many ways. But then so for that's 30, and then he released 42 covers a year. That's a lot. It's a lot.
Per month, how many covers is it? Would you say?
Usually it'd be 3, but for the 2 big cons, you do 6.
So like, see, that's the thing, right? So if he's selling, his limited books now, right? And I forgot, he would sell anywhere from
it's 1,500 to $3,000.
3,000. See, 3,000. Imagine if he's selling each one that he was targeting to sell like $20 a pop. That's like $60K per one. So I think he got greedy. Imagine selling like 10 variants and you get 60 grand per pop. That's $600K a month. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know about the numbers. I was just throwing it out there. I have a feeling I'm
so I can give a little insight because he's not making $600K on it.
Yeah.
Because you have to buy the license from Marvel.
Buy the license. You have to pay off the expenses for publishing.
Nei is involved in it. Ula Moss is involved in it. Nothing against those people because he's not just employing Campbell.
Yeah.
Campbell a lot of times doesn't do the color himself. Nei Ruffino does color for him. Ula Moss does.
So you have to pay those other people, right?
And there's nothing. I like Nei. I like Ula Moss. I want Nei, and I would love to do Nei because Nei is supposed to be amazing, and she's great. I'm not knocking any of these people. We're not knocking artists here.
Yeah.
And again, hopefully this isn't being controversial.
Yeah, we do want to support them. I do agree. I support like artists making money and pumping out good content, right? That becomes that collectors will buy and love, right? So I'm okay with that. But from an investment quality, though, I think I'm not sure if there's an investment quality because the market's flooded, right? So
it's become now when you're producing 120, and all of them are similar.
Yeah, similar.
It's not as exclusive. This is why I go back to Zenoscope, where there's only 250 copies of this book.
Yeah.
There's only 350 copies, or there's only 400 copies.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that means that there's not a 401st copy. So now there is a demand for it, and you could pump out a bunch of these with super limited,
Yeah. And
and
he took the extreme. I think he was pumping out every month. There was something new. I was like, oh man, like he would have Jean Grey one, then X-Men one, and then another thing, and the characters all look the same. Phoenix. I don't know. It's just it was overwhelming, and I gave up on it essentially. So.
and so it's like I'll buy a Campbell every once in a while. Like I'll buy like one or two Campbells a year. But you have to like really want to make me buy that J. Scott Campbell. Like I love Mary Jane and his Mary Jane Campbell. Like I love the Black Cat.
Oh man, he flooded the Black Cat and the Mary Janes also, right? So that's why.
But I love that Black Cat.
Yeah.
Book. In that Black Cat book, that's like French thing. Spider-Man 601 goes perfectly. That one is the one to buy, in my opinion.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm only gonna buy it if there's a first appearance. Now, there's no more the scarcity and limit. The limit. That you're buying something that's rare is not as much there anymore. So it's definitely a PC book. But even for a PC, he's charging $20 for the signature. He's charging a premium for the book. So. So that's another thing. He's charging for the amount that you would have probably have gained for like a year's worth of spec, right? So
it's crazy that he's charging like for the signature too, and like
it's like 800 or 120 or $200 now, right? If you're signed and everything. I was like, oh man, that's what I would have profited.
He charges like a $20 premium to get a certificate, and I get it because it does add a value to it.
Yep.
But also, when I was looking, because I didn't buy that Black Cat book off of eBay, I actually paid more on eBay for it to be not signed than for it to be signed. And the reason why is because it's more valuable to me not signed because I want to get into sign and grade it.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole crazy market with Campbell.
Yeah, no, but I thought about that. Now it's coming back to me, right? So a lot of it is like he's pricing it like the value already went up and it's charging for the signature. So it's good if you're going directly to just collectors only and not speculators, right? So maybe the collectors, they're okay with that, but I guess you knocked out the speculators and investors who would have thought they would have made money. Maybe that's one of the goals that he had, to cut out the middleman a little bit. But you're taking out a good chunk of your market, though, right? So,
and also, like Zenoscope openly acknowledges that they want their books to go up in value. They know that I'm a reseller on eBay. I mean, I interviewed Ralph, who's one of the co-owners, and I openly stated in the interview that I am a reseller. I actively do it, and they, as a company, really enjoy the fact that you buy a book for $25 and it's going for $50 before it even gets into my hands, because that is the best advertising for their business.
Not everybody's gonna pay that bucks, right? But resellers, even for me, I'm a reseller. I would buy it. I'll take the risk if I buy something for $20-$50 that I think it'll go up to $100-$200. I'll take the risk. But if you're selling it to me $100-$200, that means there's no more profit margin there, and the risk is all mine that it'll go higher than $200, which is really tough to do. So you knock me out, and I wouldn't go and buy that anymore. So are you just gonna go direct to collectors who are gonna pay $200 premium? There's probably a smaller market for it, right? So
I think it's very complicated.
It's complicated.
But you know what is? I believe free market capitalism.
Yeah.
Look, you know what is? I'm not forcing anybody to buy anything. I put my stuff up on eBay. I'm not as big as you on eBay. I'm the first person.
Decision, right? If he feels like, oh, I'm still getting a lot of sales, hey, I'm okay, I'm making money, etc. But if he feels like it's not, let the free market go. He'll lower his prices, and then people will start buying it again, right?
And look, maybe he's right, maybe we're wrong.
Yeah,
I'm the first person.
That's why I don't knock it. He can do whatever he wants. If he feels like he's making money, etc. That's his joy. I mean, but for me as an investor, I haven't.
There's better deals for you, and there's better deals for me.
Yes.
Like there's a reason why I am more into Zenoscope, because I find that's the best deal for me to make money.
Sure.
I don't, and that's where I'm going. I'm going to the deal that I feel where I can make money on.
Correct.
And even if I'm making $15 a book in profit, I'm still making money, and maybe I can make more elsewhere. And maybe there's better positions out there, but it's working. And as I stated before, I am not as big as you on eBay. I'm getting bigger. and I'm taking my time with it.
Mhm.
This is a secondary / third tier income stream for me.
Yeah.
And but I'm making money, and then it's just adding to my main two wealth producers at the moment.
Sure.
And I'm working on trying to build a fourth thing right now, and that's sort of secret. And then I might become somebody's sort of exclusive dealer on eBay
Sure.
with a whole different project related to comics.
Yeah.
But one of the things is that, again, I think the free market will decide all of this.
Free market will decide. Yep.
And I'm a capitalist. I have no problem saying it. I'm a greedy capitalist. But guess what? I deliver to my clients that want items on eBay, and they're happy to do it, and you do it too.
Sure.
Nope.
And the exciting part is like in our business between stocks, comics, and like sports cards, there's so many areas that you can diversify to, right? Like you said, like you can go to like indies like Zenoscope, or you can go to big names like Marvel, or you can go to DC, or you can go to like artists, or you can go to first appearances. There's so many ways if you want to.
Or you could go writers.
Writers, Chris Claremont, and etc. You want to you be specialized in that. There's so many fun ways to diversify within comics and stocks. That's why it's exciting. And
so I do want to back out of comics because I am curious, and I think you turned me on to what happened with Target.
Yes.
And I don't know if you caught. Did you put up the article, or did somebody else put it?
Yeah, somebody put it up, but I read it even before that.
So Target started limiting what you can do on Fridays, and I saw posts on Twitter of people lining outside of Target.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen these posts.
I've seen the posts like before, because that's the thing, right? Like, dude, like you buy cards, and some of these cards, I bought cards, and they're like thousands of dollars now, in the secondary market. So they buy a box for $20, and then
I put up the thing about Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah.
And he was talking about this.
Yeah.
And I shared it in the group a while back.
Sure.
And obviously it's crazy. And I did something kind of crazy. I'm not into sports cards as much as I am into Pokemon cards and Magic cards.
Yeah.
And but it's similar. And I bought a bunch of Cinnamon Toast Crunch to get Pokemon cards.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me explain. There's a Galarian Ponyta card. It's like a $25 card.
Sure.
And you could go to Target, and for $7 you could buy 2 boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch that have the cards in it. And so I found the Galarian Ponyta, and it's like a $25 card, and it's awesome. It's all foiled out, and like the Pikachu cards are going for like $5 on eBay.
Yeah. I think I've seen pictures where people buy like 5 of those boxes, and then they get that card.
And so there's a wrestler who loves Pokemon. Yeah. And so when I go to a wrestling show she's at, I'm just going to legitimately buy her a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and just hand it to her. It's going to be the funniest thing. She's going to give me a Polaroid of herself to me in exchange. It's going to be the greatest thing. We're going to film it on TikTok. Yeah. It's going to be the greatest thing called like bartering. But anyway, continue about all this because it's an aside.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, and that's just the one part. The demand is there. It's crazy. But then I've read more, right? Like, I think we discussed this, right? There's shady people who kind of buy cards and shops, and then they check the weight. So if you see something is higher than a certain weight, there's something, either it's a thicker card, that means it's signed or has a patch. So they would just take those and then sell the rest higher, knowing that there's no more signed cards there. So everybody just gets the bum, packs, right? So I was like, oh man, that's kind of rough. That's why I want to buy individuals now. Just buy a box because you don't know if that guy opened it and picked out the ones, right? So,
I mean, I buy Magic cards, and I bought Pokemon cards, and I've had like $50 Pokemon cards in something, and they're really cool and they're awesome, and I love it. And they're like all foily, and eventually I'm going to sell it. And then what I'm going to do is that I host anime panels. And I have a Pokemon panel that I'm working on. All the shitty Pokemon cards and just give them out to everybody in the audience. Because those cards are worth like 10 cents. And it'll buy me better will in my business.
Sure.
My podcast than anything else. It's going to be the greatest marketing play. Oh my God, free Pokemon cards. This is awesome. Because people love free shit. So obviously I understand that, but like I'm going to take out the really nice cards. So if I buy 10 packs, usually I'm going to get like one of those cards that's worth maybe $10 to $15. Statistically. But Target said they're not selling sports cards in some places now.
Yeah, they're not selling anymore.
For safety reasons. And I'm like, what the fuck just
People had a fight, or probably people got robbed. Somebody stole a box for $20, and there might be worth over 1,000. So they probably robbed them so they can sell that box. I was like, that's crazy. Or I have read also stories where people opened and robbed the cards inside the store, so they would only see open packs inside the store too. So I was like, oh man, it's definitely a security risk now, right?
So I mean, my dad is into baseballs,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he's not an investor. He just loves it, and for him, it's personal,
yeah,
but it has a monetary value. So he is just a sports memorabilia guy, and he likes staring at his baseballs and his
yeah,
sports cards and all that
yeah.
stuff. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. So like, he grew up watching baseball in Brooklyn. So he's a Mets fan. Obviously, I'm a Mets fan, and so like he enjoys that type of stuff, and he enjoys the sports card stuff. But he has cards that are worth money. He has a Derek Jeter card that's worth like 1,500.
Oh, Derek Jeters. Oh, I have a bunch of them. I made some good money on Derek Jeters. I love Derek Jeter.
And obviously, he was thinking about selling it, and him going into the Hall of Fame is a big deal.
Yeah.
He got in completely. I don't know who's the one guy who didn't vote or
Voted him. Probably a Mets guy or something.
But it's one of two things. It's either the person forgot to vote.
Yeah. Oh, he
Which
forgot
is-
to vote. Okay.
Or conversely, what wound up happening is that the person just voted against him for whatever reason. But it should have been 100% of the vote.
Yeah, yeah. No, sports cards is red hot. I think I even posted that even like a few years ago already in one of the comic groups and said, "Hey, actually, I was actually predicting the opposite, right? The sports cards were getting hot. People were paying like 50, 80 grand for like first rookie cards for like Stephen Curry. I was like, man, I posted comic books I think are way undervalued. If people are spending Curry cards, and then I'm looking at first appearance of Wolverine at the time they were selling for $1,000. They're so way undervalued. And of course, this year finally it caught up and it went up to nuclear status, right?
So this is my question, because Patrick Bet David, I know Gary Vee's big into sports cards. I was on somebody's show talking about this a while ago.
Yeah.
Not this December, but 2019 December, I was on somebody's show talking about passive income, and the guy is a real estate passive income collector, and we were just talking about income streams, and I was talking about comics, how Funko, sports cards, and one of the things, and this is when Patrick Bet David was talking about this, where one of the things that was going on is that certain cards have went for a premium, and now they've come down a little bit.
Sure.
They're fluctuating a lot. So where do you think all that's going? Because I am curious, because we're going to follow suit.
I'm not surprised. All of these, they're like stocks, right? They all go up a high, demand goes high, then it goes to a certain point, it's too high, then either the guy gets injured or somebody new comes up, they'll jump to that next one and people won't buy.
I don't even think that the card that went high, because I know Michael Jordan sold for almost like 800,000, and then it dropped down to 500,000.
Yeah,
Michael Jordan's not playing anymore.
But no, I'm not surprised, right? Because like, at one point, like, some players like LeBron's gets hot when he he won the championship last season. So focus went to him and all these cards popped up again. Now it's slowing down. If he doesn't win this year, it'll probably go down again.
And I know Tom Brady's card on football is really high.
I bought the Tom Brady rookie card, so I'm pretty happy. I got it fairly cheap still. So, and I think it's undervalued, so I'm hoping that will pay off later.
Well, he'll call Gronk and he'll say, "You want to win another one, but it'll be cut off."
It'll be cut off. Yeah, but the thing is, the danger there. See, you got to understand markets. The scary part with sports cards are the speculative ones, right? The new guys who are hot, but if they get injured and they don't go to that next level, their cards will drop big. So you got to take a risk.
I am not a sports guy. It's just something that I know Pokemon stuff. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand comics, and I do think, and you could disagree with me, but I invest in things that I understand.
Yes. You gotta, because I love sports too, right? I love sports. I love basketball.
I enjoy watching them. I just don't know the card market, and
it's a different.
Don't want to be involved in it. I was looking at some cards, and I'm like, you know what is? I'm gonna lose my shirt really quickly.
You can lose money too. You can buy the wrong ones and you lose money, right? So I've learned too. I've had similar with comics, right? Buying and selling, and I've learned throughout the years it's the same thing with cards, right? Like you invest in like some guys, and then they don't pan out. It's like they're worthless now, right? So, but if you invested in the true greats like Michael Jordan's, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, they're gonna hold their value. So it's the same with comics. If you invest in Wolverine, he'll hold his value, or Fantastic Four. If you invest in some new guys like Agents of Atlas, that's new, it might go up, but it might drop too. You don't know. It's a high risk type of deal. And the same thing with stocks, right? You can buy the Apples, who are good, or Amazons, but if you buy the new stocks like Airbnb or Fubo TV, they could Airbnb should survive, but Fubo TV, you don't know, they might die like in a few years if they don't have enough funding, right? So
there's a great thing. So, and I'm going to beat up my uncle, and I don't want to beat him up too much, but he invested in a company that went all the way down to zero.
Yeah.
And he put a lot of money into it, and it went all the way down to zero. And then my dad put about $100 to appease, and well, losing $100 isn't terrible.
Yeah, but it didn't go up, because like that's the same thing with Hertz, right? I posted a year ago, and they were going bankrupt, and everybody's like, dude, do not buy money into a sinking company. But like I think Michael from our group there, he posted that it just doubled recently because they got funding, somebody bought them, and now it's doubled or tripled again, right? So it depends on where you are, but it's high risk though. Are you willing to take that high risk? And
I took the high risk on L Brands.
Yeah.
But
L Brands is still a good company, right? So it's not as much as a risk, because not like Hertz that was going bankrupt, right? So
that is true. That is true.
A different risk, and also, would you want to invest like in stocks? I had it last year. I had a lot of stocks that, dude, I made 6 figures from stocks last year, but some stocks like that one, like the Hertz, it only doubled now. And you would have had waited a year of not having any gains, and you would have probably lost your money. Was it worth it to wait for a super high risk stock? You probably not, right? And would you have put 5-10 grand on it? I would not have put, maybe $100 possibly, but not like 5-10 grand, right? So
I just put like about $500 into Chico's, and I'm taking a small risk.
Yeah.
And I'm up 70% in it.
Yes.
And people are like, avoid this like the plague. Yeah. And I'm like, but it's a great company. They own a bunch of good brands.
Sure.
That are women's brands that are gonna freaking thrive.
Yeah.
Guess what? The Victoria's Secret, they're a competitor to Victoria's Secret, like much like American Eagle was a competitor. Yeah. I don't trust American Eagle, I trust Aerie.
Yeah.
Because they are a competitor to that industry. And that's American Eagle's secret sauce. Yeah. It's not Chico's secret sauce is Soma. It is not Chico's. And I understand the women's lingerie sector.
That's your specialty, women's lingerie.
If you saw my interview on my other channel, I was interviewing somebody from Lingerie Fighting Championship. So I am an expert in this area. And given that I invest in Cenoscope, it's fitting in so many ways.
That's why American Eagle, I was tracking it, and because I buy all my some stuff I buy there, like my jogging pants and stuff. I love American Eagle, so I was like, really, I should have invested in it when it was down. Now it's like too high now again. So I was like, Shake Shack was another one. I love Shake Shack, and it was down. And I was telling people last year, and now it's like.
So I invested in Texas Roadhouse. I love Texas Roadhouse. And let me explain why I invested in Texas Roadhouse.
You love this.
This is the worst investing advice that you will ever get from anybody. So there's 2 stories. I'll tell the story last night too. So I go, and I'm going to a wrestling event in Maryland because I used to live in DC, and we're at a hotel, and basically the Texas Roadhouse is next to an Olive Garden, and I see my dad says, "Hey, what do you want to eat?" And I said, "I'm not eating at some pussy Olive Garden," and I'm not a vegan, right? So we go to Texas Roadhouse. Now, for those who don't know, we were in Hollywood, Maryland. That's down south. There are Confederate war camps like 5 miles away from where this wrestling event was.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like Confederate war camps and graves, and I mean, we're talking like Civil War era stuff. Yeah. And I don't think,
but just more museum stuff, right?
It's paying respect to the fact that Union soldiers were kept in war camps down there. It's very cool. It's very important. It's not disrespectful. I want to make that clear for those, and those things should be recognized. Because legitimately people have fought and died there, and people are buried there on both sides. So I'm in a Texas Roadhouse. I got this cute waitress, sort of flirting with her while I'm eating my steak.
Yeah.
And then when February of 2020 hit, their stock got cut in half. I'm like, gotta buy it.
Yeah.
So
No, as long as you love the food and you see when you were there, was it packed? And like, do you kind of, you know?
When I was there for lunch in Hollywood, Maryland, like 2017, it was busy.
It was busy. Okay.
But then
did you like the steak when you ate it?
It was great, and I understand their business. I understand their business where they are not playing the political correctness. They're giving steak. They're a friendly steakhouse meant for everybody can eat in a Texas roadhouse. And I understood what they were doing, and I understand that their staff is extremely friendly, and they make you feel welcome, and you want to go back to it. And all types of people are welcome there. I saw a diverse crowd. I saw nothing political there. And I'm like, great, this is a basic restaurant, and they know how to run their business efficiently.
Yeah.
And they know how to make you feel good.
Okay. Yeah, no, if you feel like they're a profitable company.
And then I realized immediately that there was a fake suppression because of COVID.
Oh, was it COVID? Yeah. Okay.
Their stock fell 55% in a matter of like 3 weeks in the middle of COVID. I'm like, this is artificial.
Yep.
Nobody's stock falls 55% when you have a good business model and you have $100 million in free cash flow.
Yeah,
they had $100 million in free cash flow in the bank to support all their franchises. And I'm like, that doesn't happen. And that's why I bought it. And then I went last night and packed. And I'm like, great. And there's a reason why it's $100 stock.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was the same. I think Cheesecake Factory was another one. I've gone there a few times. And every time I gone, it's packed. I was like, and then the stock got hammered in COVID. And I was like, oh, man, it's definitely going to pick up again once, and I kept looking at it and I missed the boat. And then now it's back up to like all-time highs again. So I was like, oh, man, I think I missed the boat there. But I can't complain. All my tech stocks did well last year. So I didn't.
My tech stocks did great. I have a Fidelity Select Electronics as a mutual fund in my Roth IRA.
Yeah.
I'm like up 120% in a year. It's phenomenal.
Oh no, I had stocks that were up 400%. so
as a mutual fund,
a mutual fund. Wow, that's amazing for a mutual fund. Yeah.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Their holdings are Nvidia. Their holdings are like Microsoft. Their holdings are like all these micro chip processors, and it's great because it's not taxable.
Yeah, not
taxable.
Oh no, but the good thing there, see, that's the thing. You can apply that. I think you apply these principles to comics too. The same thing, right? There's comics that are, hey, they're down because after the movie, everybody starts selling their stuff, and it's crazy. Why would you, long term, are you expecting there's no Deadpool movies in the future? Everything. So I bought them all up, and I got them cheap, and then they went up after rumors of a next movie, and I was like, oh, I doubled my.
That's what I'm betting on when I bought the Venom 200. Is that I know when Venom 2 comes out, I'm selling that art jet.
Yeah.
Premium. That's the plan. I just sold the Carnage because Venom 2 was spiked up. Where that pop is normally a $30 pop. I just sold it for $65 because of the premium.
Yeah. My Carnage is my big thing. I sold all those cheap last year. That was frustrating.
And then I have a Clayton Crane Carnage that I'm waiting to sell out. That's limited. That's the Skyline.
Yep.
That he did.
Yep. So sell them now because they're hot. But then after the movie, have a lot of money ready because you can buy a lot of them cheap and then wait for the next movie. So it's a cycle. So it's similar with stocks. That's why it's great. You can buy them cheap and then store them, and you have really cool comics, and it'll go up again.
Well, I'm taking today off from listing anything because I just need a day off. I had 3 interviews yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm exhausted. I got to build another interview today for tomorrow for my other show. Nice. But it's so cyclical.
It's cyclical. Yep.
It's wonderful making money on this, and then things drop back down, and then buying them back up again. It's amazing.
It's amazing, right? That's what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't have oh man, see, what's I'm getting right now that I'm stocking up because they're not as expensive, not like X-Men's. I would not buy X-Men's right now because they're too high. I'm getting like these guys, these are still reasonable. So a bunch of I got like a few copies of that. So wait till the movie comes out, then start selling them again.
I'm right now not going to be buying anything major because I'm having a big expenditure on Thursday because Zensko does a bunch of virtual cons, and that's where I'm buying new stuff from.
Nice.
but and that's kind of where all my profits are going, kicking forward, because
Sure.
I just statistically I do very well on that front. And also I got to move some stuff out, but obviously I'm going to be setting money aside for a lot of stuff to hit.
That's what I recommend. So same with stocks. When you have to have money ready when the market tanked, like February, March, it tanked, you should have bought them. And then same with comics, right? You should have money and get ready to buy when after a movie comes out or drops, everybody sells their stuff. Market.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is that I'm just preloading my brokerage account.
Yeah.
So I'm not probably buying anything. I just bought some stuff. I just bought some CRISPR when it was beat up.
Yeah, CRISPR. Yep.
And I'm taking the thing, and I'm maybe gonna buy every 3 months. Like
tech stocks is getting beat up now. So now I would think.
I just don't have any money right now. I have like $700 in my brokerage account, so I'm not in a position right now because I have to build it back up.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with building it back up. It's sometimes in life, you're in situations where you just made a big expenditure and you got to build it back up.
Yeah, no.
The same thing with comics.
I'm the same way, but the opportunities are incredible. Like I could say that my comics value is like competitive to my stocks value, which is pretty crazy to think about it,
So what margin do you make if you're okay disclosing?
For comics, right? So if I buy something, I want to say that at the bare minimum, but it's very minimum. Like I want to make at least 30% margin, but like usually I try not to sell comics unless I get 50 to 100% markup, otherwise I'll just keep them. But lately I've been selling them because I'm seeing better deals out there. So I've been selling some even if I lose money, because I'd rather switch it to like a hotter comic or something, right? But in my mind, I have to put the 30 to 50% is ideally,
Right now, I'm averaging about 32 to about 40% per item I sell on eBay.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good healthy margin, right? So
and I love it because that's profit margin. That's not. I don't calculate my margins because what I do is I forward kick. So I forward kick the cost of the book into the next book, and then I take out the profits because I'm not interested. And then I'll throw some of that profit into expanding it a little bit, but I also take out money to put into the stock market.
Sure.
And I understand it slows growth, but I'm taking a little bit off the top for myself to move into something else. So I don't know what we call me. I don't know if that's the greatest thing. So I don't know if I'm a true.
As long as you have a goal, right? It's like for me too, I'm raising money because I'm starting another business, but it's confidential. We'll talk maybe next year. You'll see. So I have another one.
I'm in the middle of starting my business, so that's confidential too.
Yes,
it's my fourth income stream.
Yeah, so I'm starting
that. I just don't want to announce it here.
Yeah. I mean, I have, of course, the comics is already incorporated. So I have a business for selling comics, and I have a business for my consulting. I'm a project manager, so I already have 2 businesses right now, and I'm going to probably start another one next year. So you'll see.
I have to get incorporated. It's a slow thing. A lot of stuff's going on. For those who don't know, I'm in between jobs.
Yeah.
So my main concern right now is that I'm in my parents' house, so at least I'm not paying rent.
Yeah.
I'm getting back up on my feet. And it's complicated out there, so I'm not worrying too much about incorporation yet, but it is. I do need to incorporate a lot of other stuff. I got to buy trademarks, so I got a lot of stuff going on. And obviously, my fourth income stream is probably going to wind up having to get incorporated somewhere too as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but I am basically turning lemons into lemonade.
Sure. No, incorporation is there's benefits there, right? But there is a cost to setting it up initially, but you can incorporate all the work. You'd be surprised you can reduce your taxable income because like you're buying comics, you can expense those. You're buying your equipment for your podcast, upgrading it, etc. You can say it's part of your business, So next thing you know,
there's so many things.
So many things.
It's just that you notice sometimes in life you can't do things in the immediate because you have bigger problems.
Baby steps.
I don't have a $50,000 income coming in like I had, a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so problem A is not as problem.
You got to focus on problem A first. Yes. Yeah.
And also I'm getting back on track and I'm dealing with.
Yeah, I can give you their tips too because I've been there. I've been in that place like years ago too. Same thing when I was just like I had like an okay job, etc. So I decided to get a good paying job, and then once that's stable, then I started building my comics, and then now I have enough money to buy
And also, I'm
stuff.
trying to get healthier. I'm reevaluating my life where I got to lose like 20 pounds of weight. So I'm basically saying, hey, and this is another thing that I think people have to understand is that it's great to start like 10 businesses, but you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself too.
Correct. Your number one is yourself, because next thing you know, you're sick and you can't do anything anymore. Right?
And there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm sure we're going to talk about. I'll tell you my business off air,
Yeah.
and maybe your business and my business are the same.
It is exciting though. All I can say is I have 3 big revenue streams, and they're all doing really well. So it's exciting, right?
Right now, I have 2. I'm obviously going to have my. Hopefully, I'm going to get my first one, and then I want to create my 4th one.
Sure.
And but my 2 are working for me, and I love it. And you know what it is? If they're fun.
If they're fun, even better.
It's also really not that hard. One of them is more passive than the other. And my friend whose podcast I was on, Brandon Duff, he loves passive income, and he loves and his philosophy is saying you have an income stream and then you try to create more and more and more passive income streams. And that's why I'm a dividend investor. I have things like AT&T and Apple and NSP and Texas Roadhouse just to raise the dividend. And so I love dividends. And a lot of stuff I just love it, and I get there's a whole discussion. I'm sure.
No, I mean just between comics and stocks, you can have multiple streams of income there, right? You already touched on a few. Dividends is one income, long-term strong funds is one. You growth stocks are another one. You can have penny stocks if you want, but that's super high risk. You can have cryptos, you can have etc. So right there, it's like so many streams of potential income.
And then also with comics. And what I like to talk about is that we take a very active, because comic book investing is active.
Yes.
It's not going to produce a derivative, because it's a physical good, and it just can't like shake out pennies from it, unless you put pennies in your comic book and then you just shake it out physically. That's a joke. That's a joke.
But comics is exciting. I was like, oh man,
you can take that money and you can turn it into passive income.
Yeah. And I rotate it down now. Like right now, I got like a Hulk 181. I got it early in the year for like maybe like $3,000, $4,000, and I'm hoping it's gonna sell for over $10,000 now, right? So I was like, oh man, amazing. I'm gonna put it to a stock probably, and at least because stocks are cheap now, so buy them now while it's cheap. It goes up again, sell them, buy comics again. So you kind of rotate it a little bit.
I'm not as active as you are. But I love it when people move out money and make lateral moves, because it's a lot of thing. My risk tolerance is lower. I will say that.
Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, you gotta have high risk tolerance, because like you wouldn't have survived. The February and March was painful.
I just sat and did nothing. I legitimately sat and did nothing with all my stuff, because I have good stocks.
Yeah.
When I have a stock like Activision and Apple, I'm like, these companies are good stocks.
Yeah.
If they go down 20%. I'm doing nothing.
Same with me. But that's always my philosophy, as you see in my groups, that I always say long-term hold, don't try not to sell a lot. But then it was painful, because once you start seeing like a lot, like there was like the whole February, almost like a week. Every week I would lose like $20,000 a week. Dude, it's hard.
I don't have as much money as you.
It's hard. Well, that's what I'm saying. When it gets to a bigger point, you're gonna test your philosophy if you see
But believe me, I have about $100,000 in my brokerage account.
Yeah.
So I know what 20% looks like.
20% is a lot.
I'm 28. I've worked my ass off to get to that number. Yeah. And I'm not trying to flex. I'm not trying to make anybody feel shitty or anything. And I have like about 40,000 in a Fidelity account, and that's divided between a Roth and some other stuff. So I have enough money in the stock market that I feel pain.
Sure.
So I know what it's like when things go down, but also I have money in my Roth, and I'm like, great, I can't touch it, so I'm going to do nothing.
No, but Andrew, you'll see, we're going to test you. Once you get that multiplied at 40K to 400K, and then you lose like...
No. I've been tested.
That's where we're going to see. But you
my dad has a lot more money. He has in the millions.
Yes.
And so I know.
Who are the millions? Your friend?
My father.
Oh, your father. Okay. Yeah.
So I am fully aware, because when it's a bad day in the market, I shut my door.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I tell my friend, I still look daily. You saw when the market tanked, I was still pumping out research info because I love understanding where the opportunities are happening, right? Hey, Apple dipped 20%. Dude, there's no way it should be dipping 20%, blah, blah, blah. So I know when I get money, I'm buying Apple. So I try to still keep researching.
I throw money into certain things, whatever the price is, because I'm not concerned. Because I always know it's going to do well.
Yep.
I always trust Apple, and Apple will always do well. And so, boom, it's down $3. Just buy a share of it here, buy a share of it there. And
but it's down. Yeah, it gets down. It went down a lot recently. So
I'm well aware, in which that, but is a lot of my philosophy is that if it's a good company, just buy it and you'll do fine.
Yeah.
And I don't think Apple's going anywhere. I love Starbucks. I love Starbucks. That company is not going anywhere. I bought Starbucks like dirt cheap, and then I bought more of it because it's not going anywhere. And
but the thing is, I mean, that is my main philosophy, right? Hold it long term because they're a strong company, but we still have to assess multiple factors there, right? Because like some of the stocks went up crazy because everybody knew that. There was my take last year when COVID happened, right? They say everybody's tanking, everybody's selling, it's dropping. Which ones do we think is gonna survive or be stable? And I looked at the strong companies, the ones that have helped us work from home stocks, technology stocks. So I pumped everything there, and then I did a killing.
I did the same thing with Activision because I said, well, everybody's at home. People are going to be playing more video games.
Yeah. I bought the ETF stocks for the games, and it did 50%. It was good. But I bought the Zynga, which didn't do anything for me. I hated. I should have put it to Activision instead.
I love Activision. I think Activision is a great company. I am a big supporter of them. I think that they are smart. And I am not as smart as 98, 99% of all these people. I avoided GameStop like the plague.
Yeah.
I just said
no. Yeah, it's tough. It's like gambling. If you make money, go for it. But then it's gambling, right?
I'm not going to compete because it's just like I don't want to risk it. I don't understand how to short.
Yeah,
I don't.
I wouldn't recommend. I was actually even had a document with another guy, same thing, shorting as it's high risk and you're essentially betting on a company losing, and you're betting. There's also social impact there, right? You're betting on people losing
for me,
etc. So
it's more than just. I don't understand how to short. I don't understand. I understand the concept of it, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to put stops in, and I don't really feel like I could lose a shirt really quickly.
You could, yep.
Morally, I don't want to
is also a factor.
act immoral on a position, you don't
want to. That's the thing. They say you have to take away your emotions, but then if you're betting on a company losing their business and firing a lot of people, that's kind of it's your call. I know there's people who are saying that you should let it all go, just invest money is money, but
you know what it is at this point. I also think that a lot of people are becoming. Not necessarily, they understand it's business, but they don't want to act immoral in business. You represent your comics on eBay very, very well. I take a lot of pictures because I want my customer to know what they're buying exactly.
Yeah.
It's important for me to act appropriately and act morally.
Yep.
That's what's going on with crypto right now. And I don't want to dive too much into it, but a lot of people are concerned about what is known as blood Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was mined not environmentally friendly. It was mined coal power in China. And Kevin O'Leary, and whether he's right or wrong, he thinks there's going to be a premium for clean Bitcoin that's been mined in Iceland with green energy versus coal energy in Bitcoin. And while that might not come about for another 5 years, that's an interesting discussion that's going on.
That's an interesting discussion. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
so I don't want to dive too much into it because I don't know much about it, but I think that the presence, even with shorting, is very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, and also because there's more to that, right? Crypto, everybody and their mother is right now investing in it because it's going up. But then from an investor point of view, what fundamentals are you looking for when you're investing in crypto, right? There's no fundamentals, there's no sales. It's only a lot of it is hype, and there's no intrinsic value. So what are you investing in it? I mean, but hey, I'm gonna put some money in there once I get money, but I'm not gonna put
I'm killing it in
I'm not
Ethereum.
gonna put 100% of my money there. I'll probably put like 5%, and that's way it's even if I lose it, I'm okay with it. But I know a lot of people are putting like their whole savings there, and that's irresponsible, right? Because it can drop the next week. It can all go down in flames, right?
It will. Crypto will auto correct.
Yep.
If you're into crypto for the long term, I think that you'll come out fine
Yep.
in many ways. But when things go the other way, crypto will go the other way.
Yeah.
And crypto, it won't go down to zero.
It won't go down there, and they'll probably go back up again. But you gotta monitor like stocks, comics. When you see that, if there's a stock chart and you see it go straight up, how long can it keep going straight up? It's not gonna go there eventually. So you might want to sell some, and then it might tank, but then buy again on the dip. Then it goes up. Look at the stock charts. They'll give you an indication like, hey, is it too high already, right? And you got to look at stock price, volume. There's signals that compare, MACD signals for stocks, and same with comics, right? If you see, like Hulk tripling every week, there's no way it's gonna keep growing.
So one of the things that Otis put out a report on Hulk 181.
Yeah.
Where there have been years where it has gone up for like 6 years and it hit 20,000, and then it dropped down to $9,000, a 9.8, and then it shot back up, and then it's dropped back down. And so statistically, Hulk 181 will go up, it will go down, it will go up, it will go down. Hulk 181 since 1993, I made an entire video on this, has done about 3.7% annually across 1993 to about 2019. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that every year it did 3.7%. Some years it went up like 300%.
Yeah. But this year, right, it went up that big, right? So it's crazy.
So it's all about, because if you bought the book in 1993 for $300 and then you sold for $30,000, you made a lot of money and you held on to it. But if you bought the book for $25,000 and you sold for $30,000, you didn't make a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
For your outlay. So it all depends. Where I'm not saying it's not a good investment, because it can be a very good investment, but you need to buy it at the right time.
You got to buy it at the right time. Yeah, I mean that's why I bought. I don't know if you saw, right? I bought like 10 copies. Not 10 copies, probably around like 6 copies of Hulk 181s early in the year before it skyrocketed. And I have to say that I think I might have been one of the reasons why the market jumped at that time, because I pumped in like I bought a lot. So probably like 20 grand worth of like Hulks and X-Men ones and etc. So, and then after that everything started like blowing up. So, but I timed it when also when they were starting to have rumors that X-Men is joining the Marvel universe, so I think I was like looking, everybody's waiting around, so I bought them, and then next thing you know, everybody jumped in and prices went crazy, I think.
Well, I know that I haven't influenced the market per se, but obviously I understand what's going on, and I just don't have 20K to play with in the comic market right now. I'm playing at a much lower level, but I'm slowly building up, and I'm slowly expanding. And I am making money, and I'm going very slow into all of this.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Well, I might have just got lucky. It might have not been me, but I think I was one of the factors, though.
So maybe you were. I don't know.
I don't know. Probably I'm just thinking myself more self-worth than I am, probably.
It's okay. You can pump up your ego. I do it all the time. Apparently, people think I flex. And if people don't understand that joke, it's people who know you and me obviously might understand that, and I might get some attack for that, and I'll take the heat for it. But anyway, on that note, I do want to start wrapping up, and I am curious. Obviously, what advice do you have for people in comics? And obviously, I'm going to be speaking to a lot more people, and I want more people to come on. And we spoke about a lot of stuff. This wasn't a gotcha thing. I don't think I got you in any way.
No, it's good. I was a little worried you were going to ask me some obscure question that I can't answer, but
it's pretty nonchalant, and I'm hoping just for everybody who knows, like this is how these conversations go. It's legitimately a conversation about comic book investing, and people can disagree, and it's very civil what we do.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of. No, I definitely think there is a lot of opportunity with comics, even though like markets are high. There is so many different types of comic books that you can see opportunities, right? That can grow. So, and it's fun. but I would suggest doing research, check the numbers, check the sales, check the demand. Don't just buy, hey, I'm buying Wolverine, first Wolverine now because it's first Wolverine, but right now that price is sky high. Is it still a good buy now? I'm not sure. It might still double, but are you gonna take that risk? But it seems like a high risk. So you gotta just do your research, find out like demand, find out where there's opportunities for growth, and then go in there, right? So don't just buy blindly, like, oh shoot, everybody's, if you go to CBSI top list and just buy all of those, I would not recommend that, right? A lot of those, I looked at that list actually, I probably wouldn't recommend buying like most of them, right? Because they're either too high or they're probably gonna dip after like 1 month. They're all gonna drop, right? So you gotta look for ones that have longevity and ones that potentially there's a high demand in the future as well. I know it's hard to say how to know which one has a high future demand, but that's the skill that some of us bring, right? We got to look at, like, hey, Black Panther. Black Panther already had a movie. He's going to be there long term, even though the actor died, but they're not going to let go of a franchise, right? So, is that something you want to invest in long term? Because there's going to be, I foresee in the future, there's going to be like 5 more Black Panther movies easily. So there's growth there. So you gotta kind of think about all those factors and invest properly, right? So
Yeah, and then on top of that, because I think that's great advice. And where can people find you on Facebook? Obviously, where can people join those groups? Because those groups are
sure.
very important. Obviously, it's a stock group. There's a sports card group, and that deals with some comic stuff. We talk a little bit of comics and stock.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously, I want people to join those groups because those groups are very, very helpful.
Oh, great. Yeah, I
In
mean,
a
my
lot of
sports
ways.
card is still fairly new. It's still growing. So I do have a sports card marketplace dojo. So if you search sports card marketplace and dojo, my group should show up. The same thing with comic books, the comic book market space and dojo. That's I talk about comics there. And then there's my stock investment group, which is the Bulls Investing Fund Group. So but definitely just search for my name and ping me, and I can direct you if you can't find those groups. I definitely appreciate Andrew for having me on the show. This was fun and great to talk about these things, and I'm glad. I think you have a great show, and you're talking about some of
It's
the
getting
good stuff.
interesting because
Getting interesting.
obviously we do a lot of stuff on this show where I do as many episodes just breaking down certain things, breaking
Yeah.
down articles, talking about, like yesterday I did comic book insurance and talking about that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I spoke about Dynamite's TV deal previously.
Yep.
I've gone through perspectives that I can't speak today. Clearly, after an hour and 46 minutes, I'm done.
I know.
And after like 6 hours of interviewing yesterday, I'm also done speaking. But everybody knows what I'm talking about here. So I've done a bunch of that stuff. And again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make everybody a better comic book investor. And I do believe it starts with education, having these conversations, talking to people. Because if everybody's educated, better deals happen.
Yeah.
And deals happen faster. And again, doesn't matter where you are, whether you're a veteran, you're an expert, obviously you say you're not an
There's so
expert.
many comic book avenues you can invest in. It's so much fun, right? So you can invest in Disney Plus comics. You can invest in MCU comics. You can, oh man, it's so much fun.
And we didn't even touch that you can invest in stocks of comics as well.
You can invest in stocks of comics,
AT&T, Disney Plus, IDW, you could buy their stock. And then there's just a bunch of other stuff. I don't even know if like Simon and Schuster or Penguin Random House, if you could buy stocks in those companies, or certain people might have positions in them. I don't even know that, but that's an option. There's just so many avenues that can. So many avenues. If you don't want to own any of the materials, but you want to own who owns Batman, AT&T, technically speaking, whether that's a good investment or not is up for everybody to decide.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. There's just it's fun, So I mean, I would recommend just invest in both stocks and comics and sports cards if you're into sports. It's fun, and you can make money, but you can also lose money. So you got to do your research, right? So
and again, the whole point of this show is to do stuff like this and break down a lot of different things. And look, if you disagree with me, and I've been saying this, or you agree with me and you want to talk about this, or there's an issue, there's a bunch of people in these groups that I get into. look, I'll invite people on. We don't agree on everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say there's a lot of people who have their own opinions too. That's why I'm not even saying that I'm the expert at stocks or comics, etc. I do my thing, right? I invest in how I like to invest, and there's a lot of people who would probably invest in a totally different way, right? So you gotta invest in what you think is best for you, and as long as, but you have to do your research.
And to even go further off of that, I have a different investment strategy than you do.
Totally, yeah.
And we might be investing in the same thing, but
Yeah.
I have a very different investment strategy to achieve what I think is good for me and what I want, because
Sure.
my risk tolerance is different. And so legitimately, I can invest in a Hulk 181 and you can as well. And we might have two different complete exits on that book.
Yep.
And
Same with Zenoscope, right? I think at one point I'll probably get into it and I'll buy a whole bunch, and then and then.
Oh man, I'll advise you. You should watch the live stream on Thursday.
Okay.
It's going to be a fun one. It's brilliant. It's a lot of fun. They have a lot of cool guests. Actually, Friday is going to be a cool thing. They got a bunch of cool people coming on. So they're a cool company in a lot of ways. But I digress. We obviously have been speaking for almost 2 hours, so we're about to wrap it up. Obviously, join those groups. And look, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know if you are, but
Me
I'm
neither.
not
I'm not a financial advisor, so don't listen to my stock picks unless you do your research.
I'm absolving myself and yourself, if I may speak on your behalf, of any advice you take from us and anything that we said. It's not advice, and you have to do your own homework on it.
You have to do your research.
What I'm trying to do here is give you insight and obviously, give somebody else's insight as well into comic book investing. And we covered a lot of topics, just investing collectively as well as in comic books. Yeah. And so on that note, I would like to say thank you for being on, because actually you are the first guest. I hope this encourages other guests to come on. And absolutely, again, if you agree with me, disagree with me, if we have disagreements on taxation with comics, floor is open for discussion.
Let's discuss, yes.
I've been beyond civil, and this is how every conversation is going to go. It is not a gotcha show. It is not a I'm going to beat you with a club show, unless you decide to start a fight with me first. Okay. And I will treat everybody the same way that you treat me. And obviously that's how this show goes. So obviously I'd like to say again, thank you for being on, because I know that people get nervous on stuff like this. And I appreciate when people actually come on and want to have a discussion, because it is super important. And I think there's so much beneficial things that can come out of this type of discussion.
Sure. No, I had fun. So that's also the next best thing, right?
And
glad to be here.
And that's a wrap, everybody. I will catch you in the next show that I do, whenever that may be.
All right.